Welcome to the Private Lender Podcast with your hosts from Hard Money Bankers, Jason Balin and Chris Haddon. This podcast is sponsored by hardmoneymastermind.com.
Hey everyone, Chris and Jason here, Private Lenders Podcast. Thanks for checking out the show. We appreciate it. As always, don't forget to take a look at hardmoneymastermind.com, our community of private and hard money lenders. You can create a free account and check out the training and the conversation and everything else. All right, so today we're discussing why we started the Hard Money Mastermind Inner Circle. I know Jason has a number of reasons. I want to jump in with one that's really front of mind for me when we were chatting about this topic, and that's I really wish that something like this was around 15 years ago when we started. There was not a roadmap. There were some conferences and stuff, but that was not really a roadmap in terms of what a private lending business should look like, how you get deals, how you should underwrite to be safe, where the capital comes from, how you find it, all of it, how to service the software options. Like it just wasn't there. And I'm not even sure it's out there now. I mean, I know that there's some like meetup groups and private lenders who catch up with each other. I'm not sure if a true high-level offline mastermind group exists in our niche, and it certainly didn't in 2007.
Well, our niche is very niche, and it is. And I know we joke about it, but there's so many different ways that you can monetize the operation. You can be your own lender, and you want to, potentially lend your own funds responsibly. You could go out and raise funds from somebody else. You can do a little bit of both. Start your own big hard money company. You could do one deal a month as a side gig, or you can do dozens of loans a month with a big operation. So there's so many different components of it. And I agree with you. Like when we started, the only folks that were kind of in it were, older school kind of successful businessmen that would lend their own money out privately, and nobody was doing it kind of more on a formal basis. So there's nobody to teach it. And it's not that those lenders weren't willing to help us if we asked, but again,
Right.
We didn't even know what questions to ask. And that was also early days of YouTube and social and stuff like that. So, information wasn't as readily available. And there were and to this day, there are, what's the word? Not mentors, not gurus, educators that are out there. And, they have one-day courses and they have some education related to being a private lender, hard money lender, but that's mostly like structuring deals, right? Like how do you structure a deal legally with deeds of trust or mortgages and promissory notes and things like that. But there's so much more to the business. And the thing that we constantly joked about for years was we're just nerding out on private lending and hard money in our office, just the two of us, or in front of a whiteboard and outlining ideas. We might as well just get on video and talk and kind of see what direction it goes.
Right.
And we realized that there was a demand. There was a lot of folks that were interested, either they're currently lending or they are aspiring to be lenders, and they wanted to see how we were doing it, or they wanted to kind of get tips and tricks on how to expand their current operation. So there's a demand of a lot of, like, more than we would have thought. We have over 600 people in our mastermind group, and over 25 people in the actual inner circle group that, want to continue to learn and educate themselves. And listen, both of us have had business coaches. We've been involved in a lot of mastermind groups. So like we understand the value of being a part of a like-minded community, to learn off of, because just like anything else, sometimes when you teach, you learn, right? Like I
Sure.
feel like we've stepped up our game by helping others, and they might've got a lot of value from us, but sometimes the questions that they ask us make us be like, you know what, that's a good question. Why do we do it like that?
Yeah, no, we definitely learn from working with the other lenders, even if they're like not quite on our level. They'll have different insights than we have. And here's another reason that came to my mind when we were talking about this. In working with the lenders that we meet through the podcast and also in the online mastermind group, and hearing about some of their deals and deal structures, we saw some people doing some scary stuff. We saw some people giving out 100% financing or even over that, like rolling in this and fees and payments and like really, really risky stuff. And now we're talking about some people who have some money, like, millions of dollars, and that they're using to lend out of their own money. But you're going to lose. You're going to lose money doing unsafe and scary stuff like that. And that's another reason that we wanted to do some next level kind of training, like the 2-day consulting and the Inner Circle mastermind group, is that not only do we want to help people grow a business and grow it in the right way, in some cases, we just have to stop people from losing their shirts.
Yeah.
And that, like,
no doubt,
that was an unexpected one. Not that I didn't know that there were people out there doing some, not too professional underwrites and risk management. I did know that was the case. That just going to a meetup or RIA and hearing about private lenders and some of the stuff they're doing. But once they were actually in our world, in our online mastermind group, I was like, shoot, all right, we gotta save some people's asses here.
Yeah, we gotta tailor some things, that way. I mean, we're super passionate about this business, but the one thing that you probably noticed based on all of our podcasts that we've done, and if you're inside the regular Hard Money Mastermind online community, like, we don't talk about raising capital through institutions and banks and things like that. Like, we're big advocates of raising private money from individual investors, and then eventually trying to lend your own money, because that's where the magic happens on these particular deals. And I know with scale, sometimes you do need to get some sort of leverage, but raising capital, stuff like that. But like, you want the flexibility to be able to create deals and do deals the way that you see fit as the underwriter, not what a bank is telling you, right? Because we can tell you firsthand that most of the lenders that we know that said they were private lenders or hard money lenders, but they were institutional backed, most of them got put in a chokehold in October 2022. And a lot of them, that grip has gotten tighter and tighter and tighter. And we get a lot of deal flow from them because their lending sources have dried up, they're gone, or they've changed their underwriting. They don't have the flexibility. And I was I got interviewed on a podcast today, and someone's like, how does that affect you? Is it good or bad? And I said, it doesn't really affect us. Do we change? Do we pivot? Yeah. But like, for instance, let's say we want to do fix and flip deals. That's fine. All of a sudden there's less fix and flip deals, which there are noticeably less fix and flip deals. Okay. Well, guess what? We've been doing more small commercial bridge loan types of deals. Like, there's always a need for private capital. There's always a need in the
Sure.
investment commercial use space. There's always going to be a need for some sort of private capital. Is there speed bumps along the way? Possibly, right? Like, hey, at one point we had to lower rates in order to potentially be competitive and get a little bit better deals. At one point we might need to up rates because all of a sudden, some of our capital investors or ourselves personally might be able to get into other, investment vehicles with zero risk instead of low risk, zero risk, and potentially better tax benefits. Bonds, treasuries, things like that. So then all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe we need to meet up it. The point is you can structure it any way you want, and things are constantly changing. Now, the knowledge, and this goes back to the Hard Money Mastermind Inner Circle group, the knowledge of like, hey, how does this business work? How do I do deals? How do I structure deals? Obviously we can all learn from each other. And if you've got very little experience, there's a lot you can learn very, very quickly. But even if you're somebody who's been in the business for a long period of time and you've done lots of deals and you're comfortable, there's still value to be a part of a community, because there's obviously the learning component of it of, we've learned some interesting concepts from other lenders over the years, not necessarily things that we've implemented in our business, but things that we've considered implementing in our business of structuring deals, structuring different agreements with investors. So obviously there's that side of it, the education side, but also like, and again, the business concepts don't necessarily change, but there's a big component of the relationships stuff, right? Like, hey, someone might be involved in a group where they have lots of capital and they want to deploy it responsibly. And somebody else might be in the group where they have some capital, but they need to grow. And then all of a sudden there's a partnership there, right? You never know where it's going to go. There's nothing wrong. Right. Anytime you're in a room with like-minded people that have similar motivations than you, like, only good things happen. And that's what we saw at our last Inner Circle group.
Oh, that was one of the coolest things that I noticed during and immediately after, is that the people that were here in November for the Inner Circle meeting, they started doing deals and referring deals, and maybe we can link up on capital almost immediately within like a day. And then definitely continuing in the chatter that I would see after that meeting. I'm like, oh shoot, that's cool.
And
I figured that would happen, but I didn't think it would be like that seamless.
Yeah, exactly. And the good kind of above board way that I think it was done, which was great. It wasn't like, hey, you have capital, I have a deal. Like it was like, let's create a relationship. It wasn't like, hey, you have a deal, I have capital, let's sync up. Like, this is a relationship game. Like, hey, we should talk about ways that we could partner together to make it work. I'm comfortable with you, right? Maybe I'm not comfortable with somebody else, so maybe my capital is not good for them, and vice versa. And I feel like we've always had this, like, I don't want to say dream or whatever, but the idea of, hey, if we can get a lot of like-minded people in the same room together, there's just opportunities to be had and money to be had together, right? And in essence, maybe it's something like, hey, somebody in the group has a $2 million deal, right? Like a big deal. Maybe it's a big commercial deal. That's a great deal. And they don't want to put up all their capital. Maybe they don't have enough investor capital. And then all of a sudden it's like an investment club where 6 people in the group each put up $50,000 or I don't know, something like that, right? A certain amount. And I know that's something that interests us, is to potentially partner with some of the Inner Circle group members, put capital with them. Maybe if they have deals, if they have deals they want to refer, they can refer deals. Maybe we help fund some of their deals that they're light on the capital side. We've done that in the past with some group members where they brought a deal to us and they were short on the funding and they put up some of the capital and we put up the rest of the capital. So again, like, that's not to say that everyone's going to have sync together and that work out perfectly, because nobody is ever going to give somebody capital who they don't have a good relationship with. Like that, it's just a relationship game. So the point is like, hey, there's a lot of synergies. Everybody's like-minded. Let's figure out if there's ways to grow. And I'll tell you that, like, the biggest operators in that room learned a lot. Learned sometimes just from some of the operators that do, a dozen deals a year, right, of their own money. They learned strategies from that, and vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's going to be interesting to see how it all evolves over time, because that was Inner Circle meeting number 1. Like, this is early on for our offline mastermind group. Next one is in May here in Maryland, May 4th and 5th. We are going to end up selling out. We have a limited amount of seats, a limited amount of people that are in the Inner Circle group. And yeah, if you are interested, check it out at hardmoneymastermindinnercircle.com. You can make application. You can speak with Dave Bauer, our program director, learn a little more about it. And we will see you here next time on the Private Lenders Podcast.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast. Please note that the opinions stated by all the speakers on this show are only opinions and not intended for legal, financial, or accounting advice. Please make sure to always check with your own legal, accounting, and financial professionals. If you enjoyed this episode of the Private Lenders Podcast, we'd appreciate it if you would spread the word. Make sure to check out hardmoneymastermind.com, the #1 free community for new and experienced private and hard money lenders.